And the coolest thing about Walking Dead in specific is the whole like cast and crew combined has just been like one big family, you know. Like it's been 8 years of Walking Dead. Like It's cool to see it. They're still grounded after so many years of being on, and it's still the #1 TV show currently.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 25 of the Andrew Deitch podcast. How's everybody doing? At the time of this recording, it is 3:15 in the morning. But I've been putting off recording this little intro and outro for the past couple days. And like I said, I've been trying to kind of take my life back the past week or so. Today I went to yoga class, went to work, played tennis, did a little meal prep, and I have finally hit the point where I just need to get this thing out, and I just need more hours in the day. I need to quit wasting so much time thinking about all the stuff I have to do, and I just need to do it. But I'm also going out of town this weekend for a wedding, so I'm still trying to figure out the upload schedule, but recording 2 episodes today, recorded an episode yesterday, so after today I will have 4 more episodes in the tank, and a lot of good stuff is coming your way very, very soon. But let's just jump into this thing. My guest today is my friend Graham Byrnes, and Graham does a lot of cool stuff, but probably the coolest thing that he does is that he works on set of America's #1 TV show, The Walking Dead. And I'm going to be honest, I don't watch The Walking Dead, but I know that it's a really good show. The only reason why I don't watch it is because I know that I'll just get sucked in and I'll want to watch like every episode. So I've just stayed away from it. I've never even watched a full episode. But Graham has been working as a grip on set for a while now. And during our conversation, we were able to answer a lot of questions that you may or may not have about The Walking Dead. But we talked about what it was like to work on the set of a large production like that, how labor unions work, and all kinds of other fun stuff that you've probably never even thought about. But this is a super fun podcast. I learned a lot about TV and film production that I had never thought about. But without any further ado, here is my friend Graham Byrnes. All right, Graham, we're live, dude.
What's up,
we're
bro?
Live. Hopefully there wasn't anything you needed to say off the record before we started recording.
Yeah, I know, right? All confidential, bro.
No, it's funny because like a couple of days ago, I had a podcast where I just released like a weekly update where I kind of talked about this, but basically it was like there was an issue where someone on my podcast was talking about some stuff that another person didn't want them talking about, and basically it was this whole big mess, and we're just going to scrap the episode and just...
Did they did the other person contact you and they were like, I want this removed and like all that?
Well, they didn't contact me, but it was like this person was sharing a lot of personal stories about their family, and this family member like didn't really want those stories out in the open. Mm-hmm. And so rather than like try to chop up the episode and, fix it, because, I really liked the episode, but at the same time, I think it was just better to just start from scratch and like, okay, now that we know what we know, let's just do another one.
Right.
Yeah. But that was one thing that now I'm a lot more conscientious of, is like before the podcast, like, yo, if there's anything you need to say beforehand, but I totally didn't do that this time. But yeah, that's
they're
one
like
thing.
pouring out their heart and like their whole past childhood and everything and like all the negative things, and then they're
oh,
like,
wait, we were recording the whole
Yeah.
time? I thought we were just talking. No. Yeah, and I kind of went over that. I just released like a weekly update kind of thing earlier on my podcast, so if people want to hear about that, they can. But yeah, it's like something that happened very recently, so I'm just thinking about it a lot, like, oh crap. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for what you say in real life. You're responsible for what you say on a podcast too. So
right, exactly.
Yeah, there's not much you can really do. If you want to talk about your life, then go for it. But Another thing that I was thinking about is if you were going to say stuff about The Walking Dead and then like, oh crap.
Exactly. I was thinking about that on the way here. I was like, I don't want to say anything
that you're not allowed to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll just put it short and sweet.
That's awesome, dude. But dude, so it's kind of crazy. So we met at Shaky Beats, the music festival, like a few weeks ago. Yeah, I guess it was like about a month and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was like we were me and Tyler were in VIP. We were just like vibing out. It was like about to be Joyride. Joyride was coming on. We were huge fans of Joyride, so we like made it a point to not miss his set. So we came to VIP and we were like, okay, let's just go wait in line for a beer real quick. And then I think Tyler was wearing blobs, or you were, or somebody was, and like that's how the conversation started because you were a fan of blobs, which is Tyler's brother, but. So the conversation started from there, and then we're like, yo, let's hang out the whole weekend, and then from there it just kind of spiraled out of out into the whole weekend, into the night and everything. Yeah,
it was cool because like we were talking to Tyler, and Tyler's like, yeah, my brother is blobs art, blah blah blah, and then you were saying like, I was like, oh cool, and then you're like, yeah, and I work on The Walking Dead, and I'm like, these two guys are dope as shit. Like this guy's brother like works with Skrillex, and this guy works on The Walking Dead. Like that's so dope. Like I want to be friends with these guys.
Everywhere, man.
Yeah,
dude, Atlanta's blowing up for entertainment, like every form of entertainment.
That is very true.
I mean, even this is a form of entertainment too. So.
That is very, very true. I mean, podcasts are blowing up in general. Mm-hmm. I actually met with a guy yesterday who's, his name's Matt Davis, and he is the host of a podcast called, forgive me, Matt, if I get this wrong, but I think it's the Obstacle Course Racing Podcast.
Okay.
So it's all about like Tough Mudders and like all those kind of races.
That's cool, yeah.
Where it's like the mud runs and the obstacle courses and stuff.
Right.
And, he started his podcast like back in 2012, like back when it wasn't very common to have a podcast, and now now it's totally blown up. But he's starting a new podcast all about Atlanta, which is pretty cool. Like interviewing people that are like movers and shakers in Atlanta, or like chefs, or people in the entertainment industry, or kind of like local celebrity kind of people. And I met with him yesterday. It sounds like he's got a cool thing going because, like you said, Atlanta's like popping off.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like just. The music scene, the film industry, like just every aspect of the entertainment industry is moving over here because, well, for one thing, for the film industry in specific, everybody's coming here because we have a tax incentive now. So, well, we've had a tax incentive for a few years, but it's, everybody's starting to come here. And actually last year was the first year that we surpassed California and New York for the most productions in one state. So
whoa,
yeah, so we're the number one state right now for productions,
for TV, for movies, for everything.
Yeah, episodic, feature films, like everything combined. I think we had 17 feature films last year, and I'm not sure how many episodic. We probably had 40 or something.
What constitutes a feature film when they go to the theaters?
Yeah, just anything that goes to the theaters, and then episodic is anything TV, and we have like 40 or more episodic. Most of those you probably have never heard of because, there's a lot of TV shows that people watch that you never heard of.
Which is crazy to think about because, like, back in the day when there were so few channels, like, you knew what was on TV. Like, if there was a TV show, you've heard of it, Mm-hmm. And, like, now we have so many channels and we have so many more outlets to get our entertainment from that people just aren't even, they are not paying as much attention, or at least the attention graph is like gone so big. There's so many other things that you could be into rather than some random
it's like
TV shows.
You have like all this online streaming and everything, and they all have their own partnerships with different productions. Like Netflix has Stranger Things and all these big exclusives, and then I don't know what Hulu has, but I know Hulu has things, and like each company has their own different exclusives.
It's weird because like right now is the best time for TV, I feel like.
Yeah.
Even though, like you said, there's TV shows that people have never heard of, but you've got things like Netflix and Hulu and HBO Go and all this kind of stuff where like you got these TV shows that aren't even on TV sometimes. They're literally just on the internet. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of insane to think about. Like, what is a TV show? And I like how you said episodic. That kind of encapsulates it because even though it's not on television, it's not being broadcast to people's TVs, it's still an episodic piece, which is cool.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I think the TV, like the episodic TV show industry is just like is becoming a bigger beast than movies itself, because people they're finding out more people are sitting at home watching Netflix and stuff than people who go out to the theater. Even though theater is obviously a popular venue, I mean, people go out and spend hundreds of dollars a year, you know, doing that, but you know, it's more convenient obviously to be in your house, and they can push ads through, you know, Netflix or wherever, or the monthly payments can be a lot more generate a lot more revenue than a feature can. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Pretty crazy, yeah.
That's kind of why Blockbuster died. Because it was like Blockbuster, you know.
Which is unfortunate, but
it is very unfortunate, because that the experience of going to Blockbuster was awesome, but because like you could walk the aisles and like see what was out there.
And they had so many different choices, you know, like Netflix has good choices, but at the same time it's like they only have a few new movies, and they only have a few, you know, of each genre that they have partnerships with. But with going into Blockbuster, you could just like hundreds of movies, and you could see that was back when you like actually look at like the front page, like the artwork, and you'd be like, okay, this is the movie I want to see, or I don't want to see this because the artwork doesn't interest me, or whatever, you know. So
yeah, don't judge a movie by its cover kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
But that's so true. You know, it's funny actually. We're in my room right now in my parents' house, and I used to actually have up above the door here. I took them down like recently. Yeah. But it was when Blockbuster. Remember when they didn't actually have the DVD, but you would take the little piece of cardboard and go up to the front, and they'd like give you the DVD or whatever.
Yeah.
When Blockbuster was going out of business, you could go in and just buy like all those little cardboard cutouts of the movies.
Oh, dude, I actually remember that. Yeah.
And you could buy like 10 for $1 or whatever it was, because I mean it wasn't the actual movie; it was just the artwork.
Right.
But so I actually went to Blockbuster and got some of my favorite movies, and I actually had them like stuck up there for a while, for years and years. But I took them down recently because I was like, you know, it was like some of the movies were random, or I didn't really like them anymore, or whatever. It just looked kind of cheesy. But I actually got like that crazy like holographic poster.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I was noticing that earlier.
At the Blockbuster closing, dude. Like,
oh, that's where you got it from?
Yeah, because
nice.
Blockbuster was closing, and they were getting rid of like all their merchandise, all their movies, everything. And I was obsessed with The Dark Knight at the time.
It's funny because it seems so long ago that it doesn't even seem like Dark Knight had come out in the time period of when Blockbuster was around, you know?
That is very true. Blockbuster seems kind of ancient.
Yeah, no, it does. I think there's actually one left, or two left.
Really?
I think there's one in Indiana and one in like Tennessee or something. I don't know. I saw a video online where this guy like made a road trip to go to Blockbuster, and I was like, that's really cool. But
that's so funny.
I mean, I would never do it, but I mean, that's cool. They still have, you know, one or two of them around. I think they have like a Hollywood Video too, and
yeah,
you know,
that's
and
so
a few
funny.
of those like smaller, like family, like mom and pop type video stores.
I know in Athens there's like a video store. It's not a Blockbuster or anything, but I remember going there, and it's more geared towards like the nerdy kind of cult classic kind of type people, rather than, oh, let's go to Blockbuster and rent the latest movie. It's more about like, oh, let's go to the video store and rent these classic movies, or rent these weird
like anime.
Yeah, exactly. Or
it's very genre specific, like the store is.
Yeah, and they sell like comic book toys and like stuff like that. You know what's hilarious? I used to think that's what adult toys meant. Like, you
like
know,
anime toys and like
no, but you know what I'm talking about? They'll have like little you know, like figurines of stuff, and you'd see like on the side of like some sex shop like adult toys. Yeah. I literally used to think that's what adult toys were. Like it was like literally an
adult figurine.
Yeah, like a little figurine of like a cartoon, you know, or like, you know, The Simpsons, they would have little like figurines. I'm like, oh, that's an adult toy.
Right. That's funny.
That's hilarious. But no, dude, you want to know something crazy? Have you ever heard the story about when Netflix had the opportunity to buy, when Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix? Did you ever hear that story?
I didn't hear that story, no.
So, like, Blockbuster at one point had an online streaming thing, right? Where, or it wasn't online streaming, sorry.
It was sending in the mail,
Exactly. You could you could request videos and they'd send them to you in the mail. And that's actually how Netflix started, right?
Yeah, because they didn't even have online streaming to begin with, dude.
No, because internet wasn't fast enough at all. And actually, I'll keep his name secret for legal reasons, but one of my buddies, he had an entire catalog of burned DVDs. He wasn't selling them or anything, but he had the Blockbuster or Netflix like send-in thing, and so he would just rent like tons of movies, burn them onto a blank disc, and then he had this giant binder just full of CDs, and I know it was all cataloged and everything.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because like my brothers all had that, and like I had that, like
it's
partially,
funny.
but
It's funny because like what is pirating? Because on one hand, they weren't making any
more
money
like
from
CDs, like Napster and all that.
Yeah,
but films and stuff.
Yeah, but even Napster and stuff. Well, Napster, it's like, okay, you're not buying the movie, but at the same time with the Netflix thing, it's like, okay, you're paying the money to Netflix. They're sending you this DVD. You're just burning it on a disc for your own personal consumption, and then you're sending back their copy.
Right.
Is it stealing? Like, is it illegal? You know, it's kind of a weird territory, but he never like sold them or anything.
Right.
He was just keeping them for his own use and all that. But anyways, the story of Netflix being able to buy Blockbuster. So this is all allegedly, of course. I don't know how accurate this is, but I've heard this from a few times. I think I heard. Do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
I don't.
He's like a kind of like a business dude. You've probably seen some of his videos on Facebook where he's like ranting about like hustle harder, like all that kind of stuff. But anyways, he told this story about how Blockbuster at the time, they had an opportunity to buy Netflix, right? And they said they did their market research. They went in, they're like, okay, this is cool. We have our DVD send-in platform, but ours is obviously bigger. We have much bigger, customer base. Our name is more recognizable. People don't even know what Netflix is.
Right.
And it's probably not going to take off. So, and they also did market research, and they said that once Netflix started streaming and stuff, they said, it's just going to be a fad. It's not, people like coming into Blockbuster to rent the movies. They like the experience of walking through the halls and looking for their movie. This is just a fad. It's not going to last.
Right.
And it's like, they couldn't have been farther from the truth. Why would I want to like jump in my car, go to Blockbuster, spend the time looking, literally walking through some halls to find a movie that I'm going to want to get, versus just being able to scroll with my thumb in my boxers sitting on the bed, figuring out what I'm going to watch before I fall asleep. Like, they're just two totally different experiences, and Blockbuster ended up passing on buying Netflix because they thought that their experience of you going to the store outweighed you being able to just stream it whenever you wanted.
And it is crazy because I remember I live in Hamilton Mill, and we had a Blockbuster over there that like every weekend if you went to Blockbuster, it's like that's where the party was, like people would be like out the door like trying to get in, like renting movies, and there'd just be so many people in there, dude. Like, that's funny. It's like almost like as much people that would go to a movie theater in a weekend, but all packed into like a little Blockbuster, and like everybody would just be trying to find their movie, and like that's just hilarious. Like that experience alone was really fun to to see for yourself, like everybody coming in and being so interested in movies. Yeah. It was really cool, but, yeah, good things have to die out, I guess.
Totally.
Eventually.
And, like, Redbox came in, too. That's another thing. It's
that was a big one, too, Redbox.
You can just rent movies for $1.
Yeah, they ended up putting a Redbox. I think that was a combination, actually, of Redbox and Netflix, like, because they both showed up at the same time. And I remember Blockbuster even did their own, like, box. They had, like, a Blockbuster box that they put in a Publix right next to the Blockbuster. So that died out pretty quick, too. They just showed up late to the party. Yeah, they showed up late to the party on both of those, because I remember they did try to do streaming too, and both of and sending it in the mail, which was originally what Netflix was all about, until they moved on. And now really like nobody does the mail thing. Dude.
I don't even think they offer it anymore.
They do.
They do?
Yeah,
really?
because I actually checked the other day. I think I was looking at a movie. And it was like offered on Netflix, but it was like a link. So I clicked it, and it was like you can get it in 5 business days or whatever. And I was like who does this still?
It's so funny because I remember when they first started offering the streaming, you could pay a little bit more to get both, or you could choose one or the other. You could choose to do the DVD rentals or the streaming.
I think they are slowly phasing that out, though.
They've got to be. But as long as they have their inventory of movies, though, they're probably not really getting many new ones on DVD.
Yeah, that's what I think they're doing. I think they're just using what they previously had, and then, because to invest in brand new movies, people are probably not going to... Because the thing is, with brand new movies, the advantage goes to Redbox because you can just walk into Redbox and get them right now for $1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would I wait like 5 business days to see a movie when I can just go to Redbox real quick?
Yeah, that's very true. You've got to like plan out your movie watching 5 days in advance. Come on, now, who's doing that?
Yeah, like 5 p.m. on Friday, everybody come over and we'll watch a movie. But yeah, like...
I kind of miss those days, though, because people used to do that. You used to go over to someone's house and watch a movie.
Yeah.
Like, yo, we got the new this.
I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it. I'm like, wait a sec. I used to do that when I was a kid. But
totally. Or like, yo, this guy just got the new game. Let's go over to his house and play it or whatever.
64, or like, dude. Like GoldenEye or Bomberman. Those were like... Dude. I remember just going over as a kid. Like, me and my buddy Garrett, who actually lives in Santa Monica now. But me and him would... you know, like our whole neighborhood would kind of like pony up games, you know, like we would like come in together and bring our own games over together and all play.
That's so legit.
It was so much fun. Dude,
those were the days. Like, it's weird because times have changed so much even from when we were kids.
Yeah, like, it really has.
Like, as far as consumption and the entertainment industry and all that. Because... like you said, you used to go over to someone's house and go watch the movie. Now it's kind of like everyone just meets up at school like, yo, did you see the new episode of this? Or did you see the new this? Or whatever. And everyone kind of... there used to just be a lot of generic entertainment where everyone kind of all watched the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's so niche and like you can choose such weird stuff and such like personalized to your entertainment kind of stuff that... you know, a lot of times people are like, oh, have you seen this show? And it's like, no, I've never even heard of it, you know?
And I mean, one of the things that was fun about watching movies with your friends, you know, having a big group together is, like, everybody's reaction, you know? Like, because, like, you may have seen a movie and then, like, you'd see it with your friends and it's, like, it amplifies it because everybody's like, oh, my God. You know, like, when something crazy happens, you look at everybody's face and everybody's just, like, in shock.
That was, like, in high school, I remember the Human Centipede came out.
Yeah, dude. And, like, just the shock factor of that movie alone is what carried it, like, word of mouth, you know? Everybody was talking about it just because... like, even if you weren't a fan of horror movies or a fan of, like, you know, any of that stuff, like, just word of mouth, everybody's like, wow, this is insane.
Did you watch that movie?
I didn't.
Dude, it's so funny. Like, that's the one thing that people don't understand about that movie.
Is it, like, Sharknado funny? Like,
I never saw Sharknado, but the thing is, like, if you view it as a comedy, it's hilarious. If you view it as a horror movie, it's a really bad horror movie. But if you view it as a comedy... because there's, like, it's just so bad. But it's so bad that it's
like
funny.
Really campy and, like...
it's just, like, very unbelievably... like, are they serious? Come on. You think that... yeah, it's just ridiculous. But, yeah, I think that the director, he was getting so much criticism for how goofy it was that on the second one, he just tried to make it way more twisted. And, like, I watched parts of the second one, and it's just, like... really gross and not funny and just bad.
Yeah.
But the first one...
yeah, I've never really been a fan of, like, Saw or anything like that.
Yeah, I've never watched Saw. That's the weird thing is, like, it's kind of gory and stuff, but the first one is funny if you watch it. It's... yeah. Anyways, we'll stop talking about Human Centipede. But anyways, the point of that was I remember being at parties in high school and we were trying to figure out, like, what to watch.
Right.
Because back then we were watching on demand, like Comcast on demand kind of stuff, which people still use for sure. But we were flipping through the movies and we were like, oh, Human Centipede, I heard that was hilarious. Or, like, I heard that was creepy or whatever. Yeah. And we watched it and it was so fun to, like, see everyone's reactions and just laugh and all that. Because I feel like watching it by yourself isn't very funny.
And, dude, like, the thing is, like, I don't know if you've heard of reaction channels on YouTube, but I've seen a few of them. Like, it's interesting to watch them, for me at least. Like, if I work on an episode or if I, you know, had a part in something, like, seeing everybody's reaction is really cool to behold with my own eyes. You know, like, seeing, like Walking Dead has this channel, I think it's called, like, Sky something. And basically they do, like, a compilation of, like, everybody's reaction on YouTube. So, like, they'll show like the main parts of the episode, like the shocking parts or like the parts that invoke a reaction, and then they'll have, you know, like, it'll be in the bottom of the screen, like a little square box. It'll show the episode, and then they'll have the reactions, and they'll cut between people, and people are like, oh my God, no way, like, you know, and they, like, it'll cut between the best reactions, and it's cool to see.
Yeah. That is interesting. It's weird because it's almost like if you just made The Walking Dead, right, and no one ever saw it,
Yeah.
it would kind of be pointless, right? Because it's like you're just making something for the sake of making it, and then no one is ever going to view it. That's the weird thing about creating something is like, it's kind of not about the reaction because you want to make it how you want to make it, but at the same time, it's almost all about the reaction because you want to see how people are perceiving it and like how they're viewing it and all that.
Yeah, I don't really have that creative mind, but dude, people who have that, like, it is something you have to juggle for sure. Because you definitely want to get your vision out there, whatever it is. You know, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's film, anything entertainment wise, you want to get your vision out there. But at the same time, this generation is so like judgy and like so like particular with what they spend their time on, that it's like, what do I do? Like you have to balance it between. You kind of have to give up a little bit, but you also have to take back what you want to put your vision out there, but at the same time you have to portray it in a way that gets views and is popular.
That's very true, man. Like, that's what you just said about people are very particular about what they spend their time on. Yeah. I think that's everything. Because like, for example, with this podcast, like, it's pretty ambitious of me to put out these like really long episodes in a day and age where people are so particular.
Like,
Yeah. And like I know people that will listen to podcasts on like double speed because they just want to like absorb the information and get through it.
Well, that's what's crazy to me is that people will spend hours and hours a day on their phone if you're not working or if you're nothing is going on that day. People will spend hours on their phone, but at the same time, even though they waste so much time, at the same time they are particular about like. It's crazy because people spend hours on their phone and you think they would just be watching everything that comes before them, but sometimes people are just picky about like
totally. Yeah, and that's kind of how I am. I'm very picky about what I'm going to spend my time watching.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest, I don't even watch The Walking Dead because like I just know that I'm the type of person that gets very addicted to something, and so like especially TV shows. Like Lost, that was my jam. I loved Lost. We've talked about this before. I never saw
Lost, but yeah.
Yeah, and so like
everybody has their own particular thing
and I know that if I get sucked into The Walking Dead, I'm just going to want to go and watch like all the episodes. And right now I just know that I don't have time for that. But at the same time, like you said, I still find myself scrolling through Facebook just looking for something to look at.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like...
And I'm wasting my time.
I'm like... That's the thought that crosses my head sometimes. I'll be like, I'm not going to go watch this or do this because that's a waste of time. Then I end up on my phone for like an hour scrolling through pointless like memes and like, like those little 5-second videos on Facebook. And it's like, I could have just, I could have done something else that would have been less of a waste of time than what I'm doing right now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true. And like, I love absorbing content, absorbing TV shows, media. I think it's cool when someone's obviously taking the time to make something and then you watch it and you, like you said, have a reaction to it. That's what's so interesting. And like kind of going back to how I had that episode of the podcast that it's been taken down because of what happened. Now it's kind of like I had this weird moment where it's kind of just meta where I'm like, oh, wait. So that was episode 23, but now it's not up. Should I call the next episode 23 and just pretend like it didn't happen? Or like, is episode 24, like, you know what I mean? I was trying to figure out, well, what is a podcast? Does a podcast have to be out on the internet for it to count as an episode? What if it's just on my computer? Like,
right,
it's just
so
weird.
Many questions.
So many questions that don't matter. But I ended up deciding that I'm going to just call the next one 24 and skip 23 because I did have it up for a few hours. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like 23 was up, it had its time, now it's down, but people just aren't going to be able to react to it anymore.
Right.
Which is kind of weird. So like kind of what I was saying, that's why I was thinking about that. Like if you made The Walking Dead and no one was there to see it, is it still The Walking Dead? Is it still a thing?
And that's what's so important about all these, and that transcends just the film industry, but it's so important about, views and companies calculate how much money they make based on, ad revenue, how many people have seen this ad, how many people have, clicked it, how many people have investigated into the ad further, from just seeing it and skipping it. Because so many people go on YouTube, obviously, and it's like a 30-second ad, and you're like, come on, like I want to skip it like 5 more seconds.
Yeah, you can't even wait the 2 seconds or whatever.
There's even some ads that will be like, hold up, don't skip it. Like I've seen some like for movies, it'll be like Will Ferrell or something, like a comedy. So they can get away with doing that, but they're just like the first 5 seconds are like, don't do it, and then the trailer will play. That's
so true. I was gonna ask you, how much do you think? So obviously, The Walking Dead, it's a business, right? Like, it is there to entertain people, of course, but also at the end of the day, it's there to make money. Do you think the writers and like the people that are on set day to day are thinking about the money making value of it more than the entertainment part, or?
Well, we do have a UPM, a unit production manager, and they kind of go to different departments and say, hey, we need to cut back on this, or like man days. So man days is like basically how many people you can have on for a given amount of time. And so let's say they get this X amount of man days for this week, right? Well,
meaning employees that are like on set?
Right. So basically they have a company crew, which is like, for my department, it's like 4 people, usually, typically. And then on top of that, you get what's called day players, where they'll come in just for the day, or, basically they come in as per needed, whenever extra days are needed, when we think we have a bigger shoot day or whatever, something is happening where that department needs more people for that day. So there's a lot of negotiating that takes place. Sometimes, on different productions, the UPM will be like, hey, you can't have this many people this day. But then they'll end up negotiating and, finding a happy medium where you can get 1 or 2 more people.
So that person's in charge of kind of the budget, because they're like, yo, there's way too many people. We can't afford to pay this many people for this shoot or whatever.
Right. And there's a lot of stuff in the background that happens, where they figure out, there's always going to be people that research and try to figure out what is acceptable and what isn't, and play it out for the year.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
And with film, it's so calculated, like this is how many pages we're going to shoot today. Pages are just like scenes, so like a page is like a minute of time on air.
Gotcha.
Or somewhere around there, but
yeah,
so basically it's like
interesting.
Yeah, it's so calculated throughout the year, and every year is pretty much the same for Walking Dead. Around this time, around August, is when we hit our mid-season point. So basically we'll have half of the season done by the end of this month, and they go on to 2 weeks of vacation time, and then they come back and do the rest of the season. So
gotcha. That's interesting. And so like there's people on set that are trying to manage the budget, but then also like what I was kind of thinking of originally was like, when you're making a TV show, there's always that spot where there's going to be the commercial break.
Yeah, exactly.
Like how much, like obviously you wanted there to be a good enough cliffhanger that the commercial, like, keeps you there. But it's always weird to me when I'm like watching a show on Netflix or something that was made for TV that wasn't ever, or that now there's no commercials, right? It's so weird because you'll hit that point where they're like, huh? And like something will happen and you're like, what are they looking at? And then it cuts to commercial. But it's like immediately after you see that person, they do that same take again and you're like, what the fuck? Like there's not even a commercial. And it makes you think about how much the writing of the show has to do with, okay, we're going to put a commercial here, and so this is how we're going to make money. Like it's weird because you have to kind of sacrifice the creative part of it a little bit in order to figure out, okay, how are we actually going to fund this thing and make money? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be commercials.
And they also have to find out, how can I make it interesting? Like by the end of the episode, usually there's something, like some aspect that makes you want to watch the next episode, right? So like, near the end, there'll be like some action that takes place where it's like, oh man, I want to see what happens next episode. So you also kind of have to factor that in too with the script. They write out the script, but they also have to have those cuts, those points where, where are we going to end this episode and start the next episode to where it's interesting enough.
Yeah, that's very true. Because the weird thing about TV is that nowadays it's almost just like a super, super, super long movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's really what it is. It's like a movie that kind of just doesn't end until until the contract is up or whatever,
Yeah, it's like a 14-hour movie.
Exactly.
And in that regard, it's really like, it really shows how much skill, the writing team has and the creative team has to entrance somebody to want to watch 14 hours of a show,
It is pretty crazy.
Because, like, when you think about it, when you're watching, like, one episode, you're like, 45 minutes, that's nothing compared to, like, a movie, which is 2 hours or 2.5. And then, but when you look back at it, it's like, I've been interested for 14 hours and just this one season alone.
Yeah.
And
that is pretty gnarly. And also, movies, it's almost now, you have to think about, movies are almost short form compared to a TV show. Because in a TV show, you can spend a whole episode developing one character or whatever. Or, really a whole season or whatever.
Yeah, and that's kind of how this season has been for the past season has been for Walking Dead. There was like this huge action that took place in the first episode of season 7 last season, and then the ratings actually kind of went down this past season because it was kind of just like character development. A lot of new characters were introduced, and so people kind of like were like, give me more action or give me this or give me that. But
do you think the writing team takes a lot of that into consideration? Because
yeah, for sure.
That makes sense.
And there's a guy named Robert Kirkman. He actually writes the comics for Walking Dead. That's where it was based off of originally. And
Gotcha.
They still loosely follow it in a way. Sometimes more accurately than other times, but they always throw curveballs in there, so it's not completely. So you can't just like read the comics and be like, oh man, this is how it's gonna play out. But
yeah, because on one hand, a lot of people are always like, well, in the book it's this, but in the movie it's this, and they get mad. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, you don't want it to just be a giant spoiler where you can just read the comics and know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, if the story's really good, yeah, because they're two totally different mediums. The weird thing for me is like how TV shows, a lot of times there'll be a different writer for each episode, So it's like, how do those writers work together to form a cohesive story? Like, that's really interesting to me.
Another thing is with Walking Dead is like it's a new director every episode too. So you get a different flavor every episode of like, this is my vision or this is my vision or this how I want it. So it kind of keeps things from getting stale, because people, they'll come in and it's the same show obviously, but it's tweaked a little bit differently every time, so it kind of keeps it fresh.
Yeah, that is interesting. Is it different working for those different directors every day?
Yeah, for sure. It's always a different experience. I mean, every day on set is a different experience, but yeah, definitely different working for different directors, and they have a go-to director, Greg Nicotero, for the bigger episodes, such as like the premiere, the mid-series finale, the season finale, all that kind of stuff. The bigger episodes are going to be Greg Nicotero. And so they have different, spots set up for different people, but
yeah, that's interesting, dude. That's because I feel like with, for example, with Lost, they had, I think it was 2 different writers, but they worked together the whole time, and they had actually written the last season and the first season, or at least the last episode. I know they wrote the last episode, and they actually shot the last scene of the last episode the same day that they shot the first scene of the first episode.
Oh, what?
Because if you've seen Lost, if you've seen Lost, you know that the opening scene and the final scene are almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jack laying on the forest, and he opens his eyes and there's a plane flying above him. And so they shot those the same day, but they're slightly tweaked. And the weird thing is, so they kind of knew how it was going to end, but they also kind of didn't know exactly what was going to happen in between.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the weird thing about writing a show that's happening, and you kind of have an idea of where the end is going to be. Do you know if they have an idea for the end or anything?
I don't think so, no. I think they're just going to play it out and see how it goes, because the comics, from what I've heard, the comics go, I mean, you could do forever. Seasons and seasons upon seasons it would just continue and continue. So I don't know, eventually they're going to have to branch off, and, I think they're going to do a totally different ending than the comics, but...
Yeah, because that's the weird thing with TV, too, is, like, if it's still making money, why would you stop it?
Yeah, exactly.
But any good movie has to have a good ending. That's why I think a lot of TV shows people stop watching after, like, season 8 or whatever, is because they're kind of like, this isn't even interesting anymore. They're just dragging it out for the sake of dragging it out to make more money.
Right. And that's the point, eventually it comes to a head to where, like, do I want to continue and, like, possibly tarnish them? Well, especially with movie sequels, because, like, a movie will do really well, and then, the studio will be like, we want you to make a second one, or the production company will be like, like Sony, for example. I just saw Baby Driver is a really good movie, and I've already heard that Sony has contacted Edgar Wright, and they were like, we want you to make another one, because it's done so successful. And it's like, do you want to make for him, I'm sure he's thinking, like, do I want to make another one? I probably don't want to make another one until I have something that I want to put on screen,
Exactly.
Like, I want to put my vision on screen, but I don't want to tarnish the name of the previous film.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like that point where he'll probably wait it out, or maybe he might get to work on it right away or whatever. But either way, I'm sure he's going to want to put his time into it to where it doesn't ruin the previous film.
Because that's kind of the thing with, like, Transformers now. It's like,
yeah, it's just oversaturated.
Who gives a shit about the new Transformers? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Who's even going to the theaters to watch that shit? Like, okay, we get it. There's really, really, really high production value. We get it. But we've seen it all before.
Is, though,
That's all there is. That's kind of, to be honest, that's how I feel about Avengers now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we get it. It's a bunch of superheroes fighting. It's cool. It's really badass. I know it's really expensive to make this, and I know these actors are really good, but it's like, I've kind of seen this before unless there's some really good plot going on.
That's the problem with, like, our day and age now with technology and everything. Like, so many productions, I mean, I could think of many, but a lot of them are just huge turds that, like, come out and, like, all they have going for it is just, big action scenes or whatever.
And they literally have, like, a budget amount that they were like, this movie cost $300 million to make or whatever, and you're like, oh, well, it must be good.
Yeah.
No, like you said, it's a giant turd. Like,
yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Fast and Furious movies, but at the end of the day, like, how many more can they make? They're just making them because they know they're just money pits. Like, they just know that, or not a money pit, a cash cow. Like, they're literally just making money on every single one.
It's surprising. Like, those have actually gone on to make almost more money every time. Like,
it is pretty crazy because they
continue to make. I mean, I think it peaked with Seven. I think it is.
Is that the one where he
Paul
died?
Walker passed away?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but that's the one. Obviously I got the most views because everybody wanted to see how it played out and the tribute to Paul Walker. So that one did really well overseas. And most of them do. That's where they get all their money from, is overseas. Like China and Japan. They flock to those kind of movies. And
is The Walking Dead shown in other countries too? Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. Where does it air? On, like, TV?
That I'm not sure. AMC might just do like online streaming for that. I'm not sure actually, but
that's always fascinating. I know
they do have a lot of fans because I'll see reactions, like from people that don't even speak English, and they're like, you can just tell obviously by their reaction how they enjoy it. But
yeah, that's really cool actually. The reaction channel is interesting because, like you said, it's cool to see scenes that you've worked on that people can react to. So, like, for people that are listening, obviously we kind of just jumped into this whole Walking Dead thing. And in the intro for the episode, I'll obviously mention all the stuff that you work for Walking Dead. But give people, like, kind of a history of, like, how you even got involved in that and, like, what you do exactly on the set and all that kind of stuff, because I think that's interesting.
Yeah, so basically, I had originally tried to join the film industry, or just try to scope it out back in 2011, 2012. I did some indie stuff, and it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So,
what were you doing?
I was doing, like, small time commercials, and I did like a small time commercial that really kind of was just like, I don't know about this, because, like, the crew was kind of, like, on edge. Not only were you not getting paid, because, like, indie films, most of them are just, we're gonna feed you, we'll take care of you, but the pay isn't gonna be there.
Gotcha. So, and you were doing lighting there too, or what were you doing?
Yeah, I was doing kind of a mix of things. The thing is with indie films and productions is the departments kind of blend together. So like on a feature or like something, you know, a big budget film is going to have union workers. So we're all in. I'm in Local 479, which is covered. I think it covers electricians, grips. It covers a multitude of departments. But basically, what that means is that, you know, you don't help out with other departments. I mean, you do help them, but you don't get involved with their equipment, because if you get hurt using their stuff, you're not going to be covered.
Gotcha. So it's like very specialized.
So, yeah.
You know exactly what your job is.
So you have to be in your department. You can't go out of your department and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So on an indie film, it's totally different. There's no union workers, and well, most of them are no union workers, and basically it's just like every department kind of combines in a way, you know, like departments that are similar to your department combine in a way. And so that whole thing in 2012 was kind of like a turnoff for me, because I really didn't enjoy it. So I went back to working just like regular jobs, like, you know, just a regular job.
Yeah.
Like the usual job you hear about, but just whatever, you name it. I mean, you know,
stripping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stripping in the car wash, that kind of
hilarious.
stuff. Yeah,
you were doing the sexy car wash.
Yeah, dude.
Minus the sexy
Shirts
part.
off. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Nipple tassels.
You have a nipple tassel that's also a cloth, so you can wipe people's car with your nipple tassel.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It's like it has a motor on it, so it just it dries off the car.
You go up to the window and you just put your chest up there and it spins it.
Yeah, something like that. So, you know, the usual. That's what I got into.
That's funny.
And then kind of about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I kind of revisited the whole idea of getting back into the film industry. And my brother has played a huge part in that. My brother has been in the film industry for a while now, but he kind of, you know, guided me in what to read, what to study up on, you know, do this, and, you know, really see if you like it. That's the first thing. Don't just join. I'm not going to just join the industry just to join it for the money and for, like, you know, I'm not going to just join it because, you know, my brother's in it and that's the only thing I have to do. I wanted to make sure that this is the department I wanted to go into. This is, you know, what I actually enjoy doing, and I could see myself doing for a long period of time. So I kind of studied up on it. He showed me some books to study up on and some different classes and stuff. So that kind of really shaped my idea of what I wanted to do. Was
it mainly about like lighting and stuff, or like what was the?
My department is called being a grip, and it's really assisting with lighting. Electricians will come in, place a light, and we'll get instructions from our boss, our key grip, who basically will translate down to us from the DP, which is the director of photography, his vision, and he'll kind of transfer it down to the key grip and the gaffer, which is the head of the electrician department. And basically they come together to control us, who are underneath them, their workers, and we'll come in and light it. They'll light it, and we'll come in and shape the light. So that's kind of how that works. But I mean, it's more complex than that. It's hard to describe, really.
Because most people don't know anything about lighting as far as, especially with video. You know, they might know, okay, natural light is good for pictures or whatever, but you know, when you see a really high budget movie or something, you're not even in an outdoor scene, you're not thinking about how many lights are being involved in that scene.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy. I mean, just the whole industry, you know, all the departments play such a specific role that none of them could be taken out. You know, you can't sacrifice any department on set because each one has its specific area that it's crucial to the production. Yeah. You know,
what did you like going into it? What was like the weirdest department that at first you're like, there's a department that does that? Like, what was the weirdest thing? Probably that people don't even know.
I mean, there is a lot of departments that people don't even know about. Like, I don't know if I could pinpoint like one specific one where I was like, whoa, that's weird. But like, you know, you got departments like craft services, which is like which is so it's very crucial to us because it's awesome to have snacks while you're filming. And basically what they do is they come in, they set up a table, and they'll have like power bars, protein bars, almonds, they'll have Gatorade, they'll have coffee, just like a wide array of stuff. It's almost like going into a gas station. You just have, a whole wall of stuff to pick from.
That's cool, because you got to keep your employees happy and have something to eat, or else they're going to be cranky. And dealing with cranky people sucks.
Before I was in the industry, I had no idea that department even existed. I knew they fed people, but I didn't know they had an on-the-go snack or an on-the-go coffee and gum and all this kind of stuff to keep you going. Especially because the film industry, you work so many days of long hours. You work like a 12-hour day is a typical day, and most people don't even work past 10 usually, so it'll go, some days 14, 16 hours, and, without craft services, it really is, it's a difficult day without coffee.
Like if you had people literally trying to go out and run and get food or something, it's like, dude, where's Graham? We need him right now.
Yeah, you definitely can't leave set, so.
Yeah, you can't leave, so they've got to bring in food.
Yeah, so.
And I remember you were kind of telling me, the food's pretty good normally, especially for the meals and everything.
Yeah, on Walking Dead, they treat us well with the food. Because we have, you have craft services, and then you have catering, which is a whole different department.
Oh, really? So craft services is just like snacks?
Yeah, so they're just snacks. They also do little snack meals, I guess you could say.
Gotcha.
Which is they'll bring it in so we have lunch in 6 hours, but after that we don't have another catering meal, Mm-hmm. So maybe in the late hours, like hour 12, hour 13, if we're going a long day, or hour 10, they'll bring in a little snack that's something more than a snack, but it's still a snack, but it's what I'm talking about. It's like a bagel, and it might have some kind of salmon on top or something that has protein and some kind of substance to it, to where you can eat that and it will kind of hold you over until the rest of the night. So
yeah, that makes sense.
They do prepare stuff for us, but as far as the actual meal, catering is a different department.
Gotcha. And are they making the food on set, or they're bringing it in?
Yeah, they're making it right on set.
Really?
And it's really awesome. On Walking Dead specifically, they have different options. So basically, they'll have a steak or a meat setup, and then they'll have a fish setup, and they'll have a vegan setup, and they'll have different options. And each day will be different too, which is cool. One day I had one day you'll have trout, one day you'll have salmon. Well, for the fish specific tent, and then one day they have one day I had unicorn fish. I've never even heard of that before, and I was what? What is this?
That's
so
crazy.
I had to try it, but they'll have different. Good? Yeah, it was really good actually, and then they'll have chicken, stuffed chicken with cheese and peppers and all kind of stuff stuffed in it. So they have good options, which is really cool because it doesn't get too old,
Yeah. Do the actors and people that are kind of the more celebrity people, do they eat the same food as you guys?
Yeah, they'll be in line with us, right behind us, getting stuff, and
yeah.
And the cool thing about
they're not getting any kind of special treatment.
No,
everyone gets the same kind of stuff.
No, they're not. They cool. Bring them a golden platter and hoist them up on a chair and carry them to their table.
Yeah.
No, they don't do anything like that. They all eat with us.
That's cool.
And the coolest thing about Walking Dead in specific is what I've seen from different productions is the whole cast and crew combined has just been one big family,
That's awesome.
Many of them have worked season on season together, so we've kind of gotten to know each other, or they've kind of gotten to know each other really well. I mean, I'm just kind of jumping in right now, but
yeah.
But they've, everybody is really friendly, and the friendliness transcends departments. Normally, the one department kind of is a clique, and they kind of, don't really contact other departments unless they need to for work purposes. But it's really cool on Walking Dead because every department is friends.
That's cool.
Everybody is so close knit, and I mean, there's always gonna be stressful days, but everybody is so friendly, and kind to each other. It's awesome.
That's awesome. I feel like when you hear stories of celebrities and like the actors on set, you know, there's some people that totally let it get to their head because they're like, without me, this wouldn't be anything. But I think the more mature and level-headed people are like, dude, this whole production is about all of us. I just happen to be the person that everyone at home sees, but like I'm just as much of a part of it as you guys are, and like view it as a, you know, this is just my job. We're both coworkers.
Right, and so many of the actors on, so many of the cast on Walking Dead are very like genuine and very down to earth. Like you'd be surprised. Like they'll come over. I've had, you know, talent come over at the end of the night and they'll be like, "Thanks so much, script department," or, you know, they'll come over and thank specifically each department. And it's like, that's so cool that
is cool.
You know, they're down to earth and like you know, it's been 8 years of Walking Dead. Like they've had like it's so much that has gone on, and it's like it's cool to see that they're still grounded after so many years of being on and such a huge fan base. Like I think it's still the #1 TV show currently.
That's crazy, man.
Like fan base watched and viewings and it's just crazy like how much Walking Dead has affected the town of Sonoya too is insane. Like I don't know if you've been to Sonoya. Have you been to Sonoya yet? No. If you go to downtown Sonoya, like the whole town is powered by Walking Dead pretty much. Because people
Where is it? I don't even really know.
It's about 30 minutes south of Atlanta.
Okay.
It's kind of like out in the middle of nowhere. So
I bet.
I mean, unless you were like a big fan of Walking Dead or you had a reason to go out there, you probably wouldn't go out there.
But everything about down there now is all about Walking Dead. Yeah,
and it's really cool to see like people travel from like Tennessee or like even farther, you know, like hours upon hours to come here and look at this town because they're such a big fan of the show.
That's crazy. So like the town obviously is like part of the show because that's like the scene of the show and everything.
And everybody's really grateful for, you know, having that. You know, everybody's grateful to have that surrounding of Walking Dead and having all that business because it draws in so many people. And it also, like, the whole town, they're doing like renovations, they're doing like living now, they're building apartments over there and everything, and people are...
For mainly like people that work on set, or...
That's what I'm wondering. I think it's just you know, public living. But yeah, they actually have a coffee shop called The Waking Dead. They have like a gift shop. They have there's actually a really, really good restaurant called Nick and Norman's that was started by Greg Nicotero, the director. And then it was partnered with Norman Reedus, who is Daryl in the show. He's like one of the main characters.
Yeah.
So they partnered together and they formed this really good restaurant. That's actually, you know, it's not just like a novelty restaurant. You know, like I went here because of The Walking Dead. It's actually, it stands alone as a really good restaurant. They have some really good burgers and it's a really cool atmosphere. They have like chandeliers. It's like a fancier like atmosphere. So it's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. Why did they start that? Do you know, just for fun or?
Yeah, I'm sure they might have, you know, maybe that's something that they always wanted to do, you know, on the side or something.
Yeah.
Obviously, it makes it's a revenue builder for sure. But I think it's more than just that to them. You know, I think they really had a passion to maybe start a side.
Yeah,
you know? Maybe it's one of those things where, like, you know, they love the film industry, but they also like wouldn't mind having a restaurant on the side because they really enjoy food as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it was, and so they partnered together, and formed that, which is actually really successful. Like if you try to go down there any day of the week, it's like 3-hour wait.
Really?
So
dang. Is it mainly people that are like fans of the show, or like you said, it's just kind of standalone? Like it's just really good?
It is a lot of fans of the show, and I think the smart thing about it is that it gained popularity because of the show.
Is it featured in the show or something?
No, it's not. But it gained popularity because of the show, because of word of mouth, because of, you know...
They started it.
Yeah, because they started it. And from that, I think it could have gone two ways. It could have gone, you know, like business could have declined, or it could have boomed, because really after people go there and for the novelty of it, it's all about the food from that point.
That's very true.
Them having great food has just incline, like their business revenue has boomed so much from just having great food, because not only do people come there just for the experience, but then they realize, man, this is really good food, so let me tell all my friends about it.
Yeah.
And now people, I think, are just coming that don't even know about Walking Dead, and they're like, wow, this is actually really good. And
that's interesting.
It's almost like a two-way, I don't know how to put it, but it's almost like people that don't even watch Walking Dead might come in and get like great service and great food, and then they might end up watching Walking Dead because of that, So it's almost like a double.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of like
business.
Like at my company, I work at this escape game place.
Yeah,
and like during the week, we focus on corporate groups. So it's all like companies coming in, and then on the weekends, it's open to the public, so anyone can come in. So it's kind of like a two-way thing that way, where during the week, the corporate groups, those people have families too. So they might come with their company on the week, and then like a few weeks later, they might come back with their family on the weekend, or vice versa. Like someone comes in on the weekend for their kid's birthday party, or like their friend's kid's birthday party or something, and then they're like, oh, dude, I should bring my company here. So it's cool because they both feed into each other. It kind of is like what you're talking about.
Yeah, and word of mouth is so important with anything in life, really. I mean, like, it's crazy because, people may not be like best friends with a lot of people, but in general, people know a lot of people, and they also have social media, which is a huge platform. So, even with your podcast, one person mentions it to their 500 friends, and suddenly one of those friends shares it, and then like their 500 friends sees it, and it's like, it's crazy how, especially in this generation, how easy it is to, if you have customers or patrons who enjoy your work, it's not just them that enjoys it, because if they enjoy it to a point where they share it, then their thousands of friends or
exactly
are going to end up seeing it. So.
And it just pays to be a good person. Like I've said this like a few times on the podcast, it's like you never know how your positive or negative actions are going to impact so many people, because you don't know if like, for example, let's say right now you said you were saying the crew, or the actors on set and stuff with The Walking Dead are really nice typically. If you were to turn around and said they were assholes, everyone listening to this would be like, oh damn, that sucks, wish that wasn't true. Or if you name one of them by name and said like, oh,
call them out.
Yeah, like Chandler Riggs is a dick or something like that, like then people from then on is like, oh, dang, I heard that guy was a real asshole or whatever, just from listening to this podcast, and they don't even know you, and the person that's on set, they acted like a dick towards you. They thought nothing of it because they're thinking, oh, this guy's just a freaking grip. He doesn't know shit. But like, I'm having you on this podcast is giving you a big platform, and I've said this a few times, and so people are probably like, you said this before, but it's true. Like, it makes sense. Like you never know.
Yeah, it does.
You never know, and you should always treat everybody with respect, because you never know who people are, and you never know what's gonna happen because of that.
Right. And I wouldn't have even brought that up if, like you said, if they were assholes. I wouldn't have even brought it up because I don't want it to be on record, But
yeah, exactly.
But for the record, they're extremely like, it's unprecedented, I think, by any cast to be.
That's cool.
So cool.
And I think it also probably helped because, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the talent in the show wasn't that famous before the show, right?
Yeah, I don't think really. I think some had little cameos in different productions.
Yeah.
The only one I can really, I haven't researched all of them, but I do know Norman Reedus was in. He was in Boondock Saints. 1 and 2.
Nice.
So.
What character was he?
I'm not sure actually. I actually have never seen the movie. I just know
I've seen Boondock Saints 1. I haven't seen 2, but that movie's really good. You should see it. But yeah, and like I said, I'm actually not even that familiar with The Walking Dead.
Like Irish. It's like an Irish like classic or something, right?
It's just awesome. You should watch it. It's really cool. Like, people are gonna like. I'm not even gonna try to describe the movie because people that are fans of the movie are gonna be like, no,
I know that's
not it.
That's why when I said Irish, I was like, I hope that's like what it's about.
Yeah, they're Irish,
I think
and
that's
like
what it is.
Yeah, it's just awesome. Just go.
Which I should have seen it because I'm part Irish. I'm German Irish, so it's like I should have seen it by now. But
Nah, it's fine. I mean, you can't see everything.
Yeah, it's a lot of time invested to watch a lot of movies, but
yeah, to kind of go back for a second, because we were kind of talking about like all the weird like departments on set that you don't even like know existed or whatever.
Yeah.
One thing that I think people obviously in Walking Dead is, you know, something that people think about a lot is probably the makeup, like to go on the opposite spectrum.
Dude. That's a huge part of Walking Dead. Yeah.
How much time do like the people on set like spend on makeup like every day, like in the mornings? Or do you really know?
I'm not 100% sure about how much time, but I would assume probably it's at least hours, dude. I mean, especially we have what's called hero zombies, and then we have like, you know, the ones that are in the background, that you know are blurred out so you can't see them as well. But
they're kind of just like extras.
Right. And they have hero zombies, which are featured more, you know, like up close on camera, like getting their jaw ripped off or whatever. And those ones, you know, can take who knows how many hours, you know, probably like 4 or 5 hours.
And I feel like that's another reason why
it's very intricate work too, and that's a whole that almost transcends into into an art, you know.
Totally, because makeup
part
artists
film
are
but part art, because you know the way they portray their work is like really amazing, especially on Walking Dead, you know.
For sure.
It takes a lot of time to learn that.
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing that obviously people think of a lot, but also at the same time might not think of is like like you were saying, you guys work these crazy long hours. I think a lot of that too is because it's like, okay, everyone's in costume, everyone's already got their makeup on. Let's get in as many scenes and shots as we can while everyone's all done up.
Right.
Because once we leave, they're gonna take a shower and all the makeup's gonna come off.
Yeah, and that goes back to like calculating, like I was saying, like, you know, they got to calculate which scenes should we shoot for this day that we can, you know, kind of combine. That way we get all the stuff from this location. Or
there's a lot of logistics, man.
Dude, it's like,
and they're shooting scenes out of order, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and people don't realize how much work goes in. I mean, the average person watching a show is not thinking in their head like, oh man, these departments did that, you know.
Totally not.
And they're just thinking, if you go on set, you realize like, man, there's like hundreds of people, and it's like a huge cog of a wheel that just like, you know, without one single department, the whole thing shuts down.
How many people are on set in one like day typically?
Probably a couple hundred.
Wow.
Or 100 at least.
And are there ever like multiple shots being multiple scenes being shot at the same time? Like, is there ever like, okay, these actors aren't in this scene, so they're gonna go off and shoot another scene somewhere else or something?
Not really. There is some days where on the same location we'll have usually we have 2 cameras for sure, A and B, and then sometimes we'll bring in C cam, and we'll have, you know, they'll be shooting different shots at one time, but sometimes we'll also, you know, if we're shooting a certain scene in a certain location, they might have one camera shooting this way and one camera shooting this way, and they might be doing 2 different scenes, but it's technically the same scene when it gets edited together.
Yeah.
But
there's cameras in the middle, one shooting one side and one shooting the other.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
But that doesn't even often happen from what I've seen. I mean, I've kind of transitioned into just doing day playing now, which is just, you know, off and on. So the first month and a half or so I was on consistently, and then the crew from Stranger Things came back to work on Walking Dead, because they're the permanent crew.
Really?
And so they were doing...
Stranger Things was the crew was taken from Walking Dead?
Right, exactly.
Really? I didn't know that.
So basically what happened with Stranger Things is they were supposed to wrap in end of April, I believe.
Because that was shot in Atlanta too, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're shot over in Atlanta. And so they were supposed to end in April, but they ended up pushing it off and things happened. I'm not sure the whole logistics of it, but...
For season 2?
Right, for season 2. And so they ended up pushing it off, and I don't know what happened, but they kept filming, and it ended up going until the first week of June. So Walking Dead started in May, the first week of May, and so I was on pretty much, you know, full-time. I wasn't on full-time, but I was pretty much full-time until about the first week of June or thereabouts.
Full-time meaning like basically from the time set opens till everyone leaves?
Full-time as in like almost 5 days a week.
Gotcha.
So I was on, you know, 3 to 4 days, sometimes 2 days a week. But so, and it's kind of dwindled down now to, you know, a couple days here, a couple days there.
Yeah.
And I've been jumping on different productions, so.
Oh, really? Like different shows or?
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of work on this show called Halt and Catch Fire. I did a commercial recently, and then I just jumped around. I did some stuff for Tyler Perry and a few other things.
Cool.
Yeah.
What? Well, Tyler Perry does like a million things. Was it a TV show or was it like a movie or what?
It was a TV show.
Huh.
I think it's called Have and Have Nots. I just did a couple days on that, but.
Gotcha. And how did you get connected with those people? Just because like you're in the union and like they just need people or what?
It's crazy how connections work because you'll meet people that you don't even think will have a connection down the road, but it eventually turns into something down the road. Because they'll need somebody for whatever production they're on, and they'll refer you to their boss or whatever, or they'll be the boss and they'll bring you on. So that's kind of what happened with this. I met this guy named Dwan last year on Walking Dead. He was a day player as well, so he came on for that day. Met him on that, and I got his number. Hung out with him a few times, went to go see a Super Bowl with him. Unfortunately, he's a Patriots fan, so he was with me and Tyler and Sarah at Brewhouse Cafe. And he was like we kept scoring, right? And everybody's like, ATL, ATL. And he's like, I'm telling you, bro, y'all are gonna bite it in the fourth quarter. And I was like, no. And then like it's not gonna happen, bro. It's not gonna happen. And then the fourth quarter came around. I was like,
was he like the only Patriots fan in the bar, or were there other ones?
Yeah. And he was like the only person cheering. Dude, that was such a depressing night, honestly. Like
that really was a depressing night.
It was.
That sucked.
And to segue into sports, like something that's kind of taken over is soccer right now. Atlanta United.
Yeah.
It's huge, dude. And every game. I've been to every game. I have season tickets for it.
That's awesome, dude. And I still haven't been to a game. I need to go.
It's been wild, man. You got to go to a game. Like the atmosphere is insane. It's like everybody is totally invested into it. It's just like Europe. Like everybody is totally invested. And honestly, like people have commented, like, wow, like Atlanta really is getting into it because with Major League Soccer, we haven't had a team ever until this year. And most Major League Soccer fans of different states are kind of like they're not wholeheartedly invested into it.
Yeah.
And so our team kind of came around and was surprised about how big the calling was for it here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like,
why do you think that is?
Every game is sold out so far. Every home game is sold out.
Wow.
55,000. Well, it's 50,000 now because Georgia Tech took away the top stands for renovation. I don't know why. But, so they took away the top stands, but
why do you think that Atlanta was so pumped about soccer? Like, because like you said, we've never had a team before. I mean, obviously we have a huge Hispanic crowd, but I feel like that's not really the main fans of it.
No, it's not. And I think that's kind of what surprised the team, like that it turned out to be so big because we ended up selling out 32,000 season tickets before they even announced the team.
Whoa.
And everybody's just ready just to cheer on.
Maybe we were just ready for a new team.
Dude, and that's what I honestly think like the Falcons losing in the way they lost played a part in like Atlanta coming together again for a new team on top of soccer fans, but
yeah,
it kind of combined in like this whole like passion to see another team like succeed over defeat is like what kind of like fueled the fire for Atlanta United. And from there, people have just like been like, wow, this atmosphere is insane. Like I got to bring my friends, I got to bring my family. And even with me, like I've brought my brothers and I'm like, dude, you got to come out and check it out. And as soon as they came to one game, they're like, dude, when's the next game? When can I get tickets for this game? Or,
Yeah. Dude, that's sweet. Yeah.
So it's been an awesome atmosphere. And the section I sit in is called the supporter section. And basically the entire game is like, we're like the 12th man on the field because we have 11 people on the field and we're kind of like the 12th man because we just like cheer the entire game and like just bring the adrenaline the entire game for the team, to boost them to victory. So
yeah, kind of like in, like you said, in Europe or whatever, they have like whole sections where everyone's chanting.
Yeah,
and
it's like so intimidating to the away team, so it keeps them like on their toes. And like when the away team goalkeeper is on our side, we just like
mess
like,
with him.
Yeah, like whatever his name is, we come up with a chant for his name, you know, like.
It's kind of like high school sports, like, because I think a lot of people get that kind of out of their system a little bit with high school sports, because they like have never, you know, you kind of mess with the players, the intensity and how strongly you feel about it. But like in England and stuff, like that's how they are with professional sports. Like at a Falcons game, you don't really get like, you know, you'll have people that start chants and stuff, but there's not like a section.
Right.
It's like this section where everyone's gonna cheer or whatever. It's just like, you know, old dudes that are drunk like yelling stuff at a ref or something.
And that's the thing too, is like the energy that's in the stadium, everybody stands the entire game. Like 50,000 people stand, 50,000 people stand the entire game. Whereas at a Falcons game or any other game for that matter, usually everybody's sitting down the duration of the game. So that really brings a whole aspect to the game where it's like, you know, everybody's invested, and like we're not going to sit down because like that's how invested we are. Like, you know, we're into the game. And,
is there anyone that's sitting down, or is it pretty much everyone standing
nobody.
up?
The entire stadium stands. And I mean, our section is the most wild section and the most like rowdy section. Like we start all the chants.
Did that get started like on purpose, or was it just so happened?
Yeah, it's the supporter section, so it's technically more like you're supposed to be more rowdy and more like invoking. You pretty much invoke the whole stadium to get together and like
kind of like the cheerleaders or whatever.
Chants. Yeah, exactly. It's almost like cheerleaders. And so yeah, like I was saying, like one team, their goalkeeper, his name was I think it was Wilson. So his last name was Wilson. So like we had all these chants the entire game, like Wilson wears a romper, Wilson wears a romper, and like all this other shit like that. And every time we would score on it, we'd be like, yeah, fuck you, Wilson, and like all this shit like that. And like just thinking of like how he feels, he probably just like, damn, dude, this supporter section is insane, because like it's probably, honestly, I mean, that'd get to you eventually. Like
it would have to.
If this huge amount, like tens of thousands of people are saying like your name and like, you know, like cussing you out. It
is pretty crazy, because they probably don't get much of that at other places, do they?
Probably not as much as ours, because I think our whole supporter section is so coordinated with our chants. And like we'll come up with chants like that on the fly, but I mean it's not like a crazy complicated chant, but
yeah.
And when people are plastered, everything catches on really quick. So if someone says something like that, it'll catch on so quickly.
Wilson wears a romper or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever we come with.
Dude, that's hilarious.
And it's just cool to see like everybody united, you know. Like, and that's another thing that's cool about soccer is like, you have all these different nations and like, you know, different cultures, like, you know, black, white, Hispanic, you know, like any kind of background that you have that comes in, like we all get together and we all like are like one, you know, like we all chant. And that almost goes with the same thing with music festivals, you know, like you have so many different cultures and so many different backgrounds, and, you know, everybody comes together and like just like has a great time.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true, man. Like, especially with Atlanta United, I feel like that's got to be a huge factor. Because like I said, typically the biggest soccer fans, at least in Georgia, it seemed like in the past have been like Hispanic soccer fans, because, you know, that's always been a very traditional sport.
Right.
But it is cool how, like you said, a lot of people are kind of joining into this sport, even people that might even not have been soccer fans before.
Right.
But they're seeing how much hype is around the team, that they're just excited to support a new team and like learn a new sport that, you know, it's got so much energy right now. It's hard to stop. The
diversity is definitely there, especially with our team members too. Even on our team, like half of them don't even speak English, you know, and we have people from all over the place. Like,
that's crazy.
It's just really cool to have such a diverse team, and with other sports you don't get that, you know. I mean, you do have diversity, but they're all American, and you know.
Typically, yeah. Yeah, that's very true that they would all speak English probably. That's weird, like that some of the members don't even speak English. Yeah. That's cool though.
And the communication is so important. I mean, with any sport, but with soccer especially, because it's like, you know, you're sprinting down the field and like you're sending the ball off to your teammate who's way ahead, and you have to time it right to dodge the opposing team. And it's like the communication, like it transcends the barriers of language, because like they know they like all speak the same language of soccer, so it's like it's cool that they are able to communicate still.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of them that are foreign do speak English, it's just really broken English.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, it's really cool to see everybody get together, and after the game, it's like everybody sticks around and they want to like, you know, cheer on whoever like the big players are, and you know, come over to our section, like. And after the game, sometimes like even like our last game, like we were down 1-0 at half, and we came back and won 4-2.
Whoa.
And that was on July 4th, actually.
Nice.
So that was 2 days ago. And after the game, like some of the players will just like take off their jerseys, and like some of the players even take off their shorts and like throw into the crowd and
that's hilarious.
Shit like that. So it's cool that they know the fan base is there, and like
that must be so cool for them because it's a brand new team.
Yeah.
And there's so much support already. That's so dope.
Right.
Like I was in Washington D.C. and I probably saw like 20 people wearing Atlanta United stuff, and I was up in Washington D.C.
Yeah, and the thing is, like with the apparel, I think on MLS.com we're like the top seller of any team, and like it's just cool to see everybody wearing gear. Like almost 95% of the entire stadium is wearing something Atlanta United, which is like you don't see that at all in I mean, you see a lot of people wearing Falcon stuff, and
but normally they're just wearing red and black
stuff. But yeah, they usually just wear a neutral color. If they don't have the, you know, whatever the apparel is, they'll just wear a neutral color that kind of blends in. But with this crowd, it's like everybody has a jersey.
And you said everything is sold out too, so it's diehard fans. It's only the diehard fans.
Every game is sold out, and they'll sell out like weeks before. And then we're also going to the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium starting September.
Really?
So
they'll be the first team to play there?
No, they won't, unfortunately. No, not anymore. We were supposed to be.
But the Falcons have a game there before now?
Yeah, they have 2 preseason games, and then they have I think they have one official game before us.
Whoa. So they're that close to finishing Mercedes-Benz?
Apparently. They've already pushed it off a few times, so we'll see. But originally, I think it was supposed to be done in like summer or spring, early spring.
Yeah.
And then it got pushed back to July 29th. It was supposed to be the end of this month when we played. We're playing Orlando City, and we were supposed to be playing them the end of this month, July 29th, in the new Mercedes-Benz. That was going to be the first game ever. But that got pushed back to, I think, August 22nd is when the Falcons preseason game is. So
Gotcha.
So that's going to open it up, and then around September 9th or 10th is when we have our first game. And it's kind of bad for our team because it's pushed away a lot of August games into September. So we have a pretty rough schedule. It's like, I think it's September 9th or 10th, and then it's like the 13th, the 16th, the 20th, the 24th, like 3 days. Every game is like 3 days back to back to back. Like 6 games in a week and a half, and they're all home games, which is really cool. But I mean, it's going to be really difficult for the team because soccer is such a strenuous sport that people are going to be really tired. So we'll have to see how that goes. But hopefully, we can pull off a few wins.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I'm excited to go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium because that thing looks so sick.
Yeah, dude. Looks
so tight.
And
that can fit a lot more people than Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah, it can. Well, apparently, I think it fits 70,000. Bobby Died at Georgia Tech fits 55, and
so that's actually still pretty big.
But I think what they're gonna do, what they plan to do, was put an Atlanta United banner over the whole top section. So they're gonna close off the top section for soccer, but apparently they may. Well, not apparently, but in actuality, I think they might end up changing that because they see the support, so
they might open it all up.
Yeah, originally they were gonna just have that whole area closed off, but I think with the support they've seen, I think they're gonna end up varying it depending on which game it is and like how well the tickets are selling. They might end up opening that up for different events or whatever. If a more popular team comes in and that game sells out, then they're gonna open it up, obviously. But
yeah, that's crazy. Wait, so Mercedes-Benz holds 70,000?
Yeah, something around 70,000, yeah.
Gotcha. And the Dome, how many people were in the Dome?
I think it was 60 or 65.
Oh, okay, so it is bigger than the Dome.
Yeah, it's bigger, but it's not that much bigger, I don't think.
I was going to say, I wasn't sure, because like some of those soccer stadiums like in Europe and stuff are like 100,000 and more. Like some of them are huge.
The stadiums in Europe are insane.
Like I know there's one in France. It's like massive.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I don't think we'll ever have that following as Europe does.
No.
But it's just like it's like American football isn't going to do well over there either. You know. So
very, very true. Yeah, it is interesting though that it's coming over here and people are getting excited.
It's doing really, really well for the culture and atmosphere we have over here compared to Europe.
But it kind of goes back to like what you were saying in the very beginning, where we were talking about how Atlanta is just becoming like a hub for so many things.
Yeah.
Like we've got tons of sports, we've got entertainment coming in, we've got so much music. Like when I was younger, I didn't really think Atlanta was like that cool of a city because I just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
But like now, like living here, it's like a really dope place to live. It's like a really coming up spot.
And that's the thing I have to remind myself sometimes because, we both have grown up in this around Atlanta and the perimeter. And, it's kind of one of those things you have to remind yourself, like, this is actually a really cool city because you take for granted for being here for years, decades, that it's like, like, oh man, I hate the city because I've been here so long, and
or you just
I'm
always
so used
hear
to it or whatever.
Or you always hear about like New York or LA or whatever or Chicago, but dude, this is a world class
really,
city.
like people are trying to move here now, and like we're really an up and coming city that's going to be. I mean, we're already our population's already exceeding our infrastructure, obviously, because our traffic is shit. But
yeah.
But
go away. We don't need any more people.
Yeah. If anybody's listening from other states, don't move here.
Yeah, Atlanta sucks.
Yeah.
Our sports teams always lose, and like.
Yeah. Our entertainment industry sucks. Don't come here. No, but I think in the next few years, man, it's really going to turn into like a New York or something, with all the high rises going up. I mean, if you just look at the city right now, there's like multiple high rises being built right now at this current time, and I can only imagine that it's just going to extend all the way out.
Well, what's weird is I was listening to this podcast with Ari Shaffir. Do you know who he is? He's like a comedian. But
I don't.
He was talking about like gentrification and how like lower class, gentrification is like the process of like a different race being like forced out of an area or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you can look at like the Bronx or like stuff like that, where basically in the beginning, it's typically a bad neighborhood. Like, for example, there's lots of parts of Atlanta that used to be bad neighborhoods, and now they've, like, totally come around.
Like Ponce City Market, that whole area.
Exactly what I was about to say. So, like, you've got that area that used to be really bad and run down. Then you get these artistic people that come in because the rent is really cheap, and they're not making much money, but they're really creative, and they start putting up art and murals and all this stuff, and that starts... making that area cool to live in. Right. So then you attract like actual cool people that live there and all this stuff, and then it becomes like a cool area. But then the part that kind of ruins it for people, the gentrification part, comes in, where now that that's become the cool spot, now the real estate value goes way up.
Yeah.
And then the only people that can afford to live there are rich people, and then that forces out all the creative people and all the cool people that made it cool in the first place.
Yeah.
And then
it's a whole process like that, and
it's a cycle.
It's crazy how much money it costs to live in Ponce City Market, man. Like I was looking at rent, and it's just insane.
Yeah.
Like thousands of dollars for a studio,
Yeah, like for people listening that don't know, like Ponce City Market, it used to be like a factory, right? Like that whole thing. It used to be. I think
it actually used to be a government building.
Oh, really?
And I know for a fact it was abandoned. Like it was just sitting there, like overgrown, like weeds and everything. Because
this giant building.
Yeah, and I used to go, I've been to Masquerade countless times, and I used to go there back years ago when that whole area wasn't even developed. It was just like literally...
a giant old building that was run down.
Just a giant old building, overgrown. Like there was none of that parking lot that you see over there. All that was just like shrubbery and like, like trees and even the whole like I think it's called Old Fourth Ward Park.
Yeah, Old Fourth Ward.
The one right next to Masquerade.
Yeah.
Even that was like in the process of being built, or being laid down, that whole foundation. So that whole area was just kind of like, basically Masquerade was the only thing fueling that area.
Yeah, but like I said, there's kind of the artistic people and the musicians and all that.
Like underground type, like,
Totally.
Like, just really indie and like, and even back then, well, years ago, like a decade ago, Masquerade was just solely like metal music and like more grungy, you know.
Totally.
And then it kind of slowly evolved into like all genres of music coming there, EDM, rap, hip hop, all that coming there. But originally, yeah, it was like solely like death metal and like, you know.
It is weird how crazy like melded Atlanta is. Like you were saying, kind of started off being all kind of metal and underground, but like, you know, Atlanta has so many different music scenes. We've got a huge hip hop and rap scene. We've got a huge EDM scene that kind of underground, but has also kind of gone mainstream with all the festivals we've been having and stuff.
Right.
And then you've got the rock scene, which is still very, very alive and well. And then you've got the country scene that, like, it's Georgia. You're going to have tons of country.
Yeah.
So it's just so weird how much different stuff. And then you've also got the Hispanic scene where that's like a whole nother type of music. You've got, like, you know, probably like 3 or 4 Hispanic radio stations in Atlanta, you know, that are just playing Spanish music the whole time, you know. So it's very, very interesting, like how much diversity Atlanta has.
Oh yeah, it's
and like
definitely one of the most diverse cities.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like that's why I'm really, really excited to be living here right now, you know, because I think it's, like you said, it's so diverse and so it's on the come up.
And yeah, it's cool to see it evolving, you know, like, I mean, it's changed so much. It's one of those things where since we live here, it's kind of hard to see the progress because, you know, you kind of ease into it. Mm-hmm. But if you were to move and come back after 10 years, you'd be like, holy shit, like, this is totally different.
Yeah.
And, like, so much progress, so much, you know, like you're saying, gentrification, so much, like, construction and so much, like, just the whole...
Yeah.
Just
bad areas turning into good areas, all that kind of stuff.
Not even just that, but just like the culture has changed too, and how you know, it's cool how everybody's meshed together and come together. It's cool.
It's progress, I think. Mm-hmm. I think that at the end of the day, that's what it is, you know? Like, we're kind of developing our own Atlanta culture rather than having, you know, obviously there's a time and place to have different cultures, you know, black culture, white culture, whatever white culture is.
Yeah.
You know, like Mexican culture, Indian culture, Chinese culture. But like the fact that now kids that are being brought up in Atlanta and it's all being meshed together, it's like, what's the Atlanta culture? You've got so much. Yeah. You've got so much there.
And that's a good problem to have for sure. Because you definitely don't want to be a one culture state or city, you know, like... Yeah, like, that's just boring. Like nobody wants to visit a place that's just like all one-sided
and when there's a place that has an accent, like you go to Boston and everyone talks like, you know, they've got the Boston accent,
right?
Or you go to New York and everyone's got the New York accent. I feel like that's a little bit less now, but
yeah, it is.
You know, there's still people that have that New York accent or the Boston accent or even the Texas accent or like the Chicago accent. It's weird because people want to. Oh, you ain't from around these parts, is you? You know, like they've got their accent where if you talk like them, they know you're part of the club, and if you don't, they automatically know you're an outsider.
Right, but Atlanta really isn't like that, you know? That's
no, you've
cool.
got the southern accent, and you've got obviously the kind of like, I don't know what to call it, but like the black act, you know, the way that, I don't know how to say it without sounding racist, but like the black people accent, the way that black people talk, like typically in Atlanta, and you've got like people that migrated from all kinds of places, and it's all kind of just meshed together.
Right.
And yeah, it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. But dude,
it's exciting to see what the years to come will bring, because it's like, who knows?
Yeah.
Like, what could possibly happen?
Totally.
And that's what going back to Baby Driver, like I would totally recommend seeing that movie just because like it really showcases Atlanta.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Was it shot in Atlanta?
It was, all of it, yeah. I actually worked
nice.
a couple of days. I only worked like 2 days on that one, but...
Really?
But it was... Did
any of your scenes get in the movie?
Yeah.
Nice.
Most of the movie is about, like... I don't know if you've seen the trailer or not, but it's about, like, racing and... Well, basically, it's a getaway driver that drives around bank
Why is it called Baby
whatnot.
Driver?
His name is Baby in the movie.
Oh,
he's a driver, so...
Okay. I was very confused by the title.
It is kind of an interesting title.
Yeah, it was like Baby Driver. Sounds like a terrible comedy.
Dude, that's what I thought when I got hired on. I was like, Baby Driver? What?
No, but it was like Ansel Elgort.
Like, is this going to be an Adam Sandler movie? Or?
Yeah. That's hilarious.
No, but yeah, it turned out really well, and it really showcases, like, you'll see Georgia State, and you'll see they don't try to mask it to look like New York or something, you know. It's
cool.
All the locations are unaltered, and you'll see like you'll see a lot of common locations. You'll see Spaghetti Junction, you'll see like all that kind of stuff, and
that's cool.
And they reference, like, they'll be like, you know, we're gonna shoot down Buford Highway, and then we'll go to Dunwoody, and like.
Oh, that's cool, man. I like it when movies do that, because it's annoying when they change the stuff.
Yeah, it really is. So it's cool to see that it's like one of the first movies I've seen where they really showcase Atlanta, and they're not afraid to talk about, like, our locations and, like, use all of our locations. They even have a scene with, you've been to Varsity, obviously.
Yeah.
And right across the street they have Goodfellas Pizza.
Yep.
Well, that's really featured in the movie. Like, he gets a job at Goodfellas.
Oh,
and,
that's
like,
so cool.
He goes in and comes out, and, like, he starts driving for Goodfellas and delivers pizzas.
Who's the main character? Is it Ansel Elgort?
Yeah, Ansel Elgort.
That's who I thought it was. But yeah. Dude, did you know he's a DJ too?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, it kind of fits along with his personality in the movie too, because he's really into music.
Huh.
And the movie's really driven by music. Excuse me. Basically, it's really edited to music, which is really cool. Like, they'll be shooting guns, and it will be like shooting off to the music. So it'll be like boom, 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 but it'll be like the music will be playing with it.
Oh, that's so cool. I love when movies do that.
Yeah, and the whole movie is like that. That's what's really cool about it.
I want to go see it. I literally haven't even seen the trailers or anything, but I've just heard so much hype about it.
Yeah.
And now that you're telling me about it, it sounds awesome.
It's very unique in that regard. You know, most movies are like by the book, and Edgar Wright, the director, did a really good job with that one for sure. But yeah, like what you're saying with him as a DJ, it kind of plays into the movie, because it's like, you know, I think he kind of took the role. Maybe he might have even taken the role because he's like, you know, it's about music, and I really enjoy that. So
that's cool.
It kind of moved him into that role. But yeah, I haven't seen him live yet, but I'm sure
he played at Tomorrow World, which is hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, he like played early on in one of the days at Tomorrow World, whatever year the last year was, 15, 14, I can't remember.
The volcano? Yeah. Was it the volcano or no?
It was the next one. It was
the one with the shitty weather and people complaining and people getting stranded. Yeah.
Yep, that one. Yeah, his name. As a DJ, I can't remember what it is. I'm going to think of it like once this podcast is over.
It's On Solo.
On Solo, that's what it is. Yeah, it's On Solo because his name is Ansel.
Yeah,
so it's
that's a cool take off his name, because, I mean, you know, obviously Han Solo from Star Wars, but Han Solo.
Yeah, and also it's funny because there's San Holo too, which is another DJ.
Dude, that did confuse me, because I was like, oh, like Ansel's going to be at this festival, and I was like, wait a sec, like I actually researched it, and I was like, oh, wait a sec,
he's two different people.
Yeah, it's two different DJs.
San Holo is a guy from Amsterdam.
He's more chill, right? He's more like Odessa kind of like chill vibing music.
You're saying Ansel is?
San Holo.
San Holo, kind of. He started off making music called happy hardcore. So like the background was like that boom, 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 boom.
Almost
boom,
like
boom, boom, boom.
hardstyle.
Yeah, kind of like hardstyle.
Okay.
But like the synths were really high. Instead of being like really aggressive, it was more like
really fast paced,
kind of almost like techno sounding. So it was very interesting. But now he's come out with a lot of different. He's kind of changed this genre a little bit. But I've seen him a few times. I've actually met him. He's really cool. But his name is Sander. That's his real name.
Oh, okay.
Sander Van Dyke or something like that. That's his real name.
There's so many Sanders, dude.
Yeah.
Like Sander Van Dorn and Sander. I mean, like, it's kind of like the thing with Armin van Buuren, you know?
So many
like
Armins.
Van Buren or Van.
There's another DJ that's like Armin Van something, and he's another DJ, and it's not Van Buren, or it's someone it's like a mix of two DJs that you're like, wait a second. I know exactly
who you're talking about, yeah.
I can't think of the name of it.
I know, but every time I see their name on a lineup, I'm like, what? And then I like double take, you know, because they're like usually in the middle instead of the top, and I'm like, what? Why is Armin van Buuren down here?
Yeah. I can't think of exactly what it is, but it's something like that where it's pretty funny. But I was going to say something about... I wanted to go back for a second to The Walking Dead just because I was interested in this. Mm-hmm. But we were kind of talking about, like, you know, when you first started working on it, And I wanted to ask you, like, what was your first day on set like? Because I'm sure that was kind of like a little bit intimidating, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, like it's funny because, like, if I went back and watched myself on the first day of set, I probably looked like, a complete noob. I mean, I was a complete noob when I went my first day on set.
Yeah.
And, just, I really didn't know much. I knew some stuff, and, Matt helped me out in getting me on, and
your brother?
Yeah, my brother, yeah. And my boss was really cool. He's actually the president of the union.
Oh wow!
And he was,
and also, like, I was gonna ask you that too. Like, what's the deal with the union? Like, 'cause probably a lot of people don't really know that much about like labor unions.
Yeah, so
and
unions,
stuff.
it's not confined to the film industry. There's unions for a lot of different things.
Totally.
But basically, what a union is you pay into it. So I paid $660 to join the union. Which has since increased to, I think, $1,600 now to get in.
Whoa.
Yeah, because they're trying to defer people from joining the industry because, like, the film industry, it's a huge, like, glamorous name, and everybody's like, oh man, I want to join just because I want to meet actors and, like, do all this stuff. And
yeah, that's
they don't really realize what they're getting into.
Yeah,
it's more work. It's you have to have a passion for it. It's not just going to meet actors and So
yeah,
they're trying to deter people like that are not that really serious about it.
Makes sense.
So they increased the rate back in November.
But what does the union exactly do?
It basically protects you. So on set, let's say I injure myself or whatever. If I'm on a union set, they'll take care of me. They negotiate rates. If you're getting screwed over by, like, let's say a production's like, they're paying you, I don't know exactly what the rate is, the minimum rate for a union worker.
Would they have their own minimum wage?
Yeah, so basically if they pay you less than a certain amount, you could go to the union and they have people who fight for you.
Huh.
So they'll do all the dirty work. They'll talk to the production and they'll be like, hey, this is wrong, like, whatever's happening, and we need you to take care of our employee, Well, technically you're not considered an employee, but
you're a part of the union. And when they hire you, they're hiring someone from the union, so
right.
That makes sense.
And they have a lot of benefits too. Like, I just basically what they do is, I think it's $70-something per day that you work. So you work on a union show, and every day you work, they contribute $70 to your medical fund. That doesn't come out of your paycheck either. They do it. They pay into it. So
if something were to happen, it would just come out of your medical fund?
Yeah, well, basically what happens is you stack up money, and I've stacked up, a couple thousands of dollars in my medical fund, and basically what happens is then you get to a point where every quarter you can sign up for medical, and this is my first quarter I've actually been able to sign up because my funds have finally compounded. Mm-hmm. So I just signed up for medical, and their medical is insanely great, dude. Like, basically you can go to the ER for $100 copay. You can the plan that I have, I mean, you can choose between different plans, but I chose a better plan than most, and it's just it's really cool how they take care of their employees, and they really have your back in that regard, and on set they take care of you in that regard too, and they also pay into pensions and annuities, so you have some retirement built into that as well, which is really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, because I feel like a lot of people don't really know about unions.
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't really know much about it either until I joined, and it's really not as complicated as you would think. Because a lot of people hear the word union and they're like, I have no idea what this even means.
Yeah.
And once I got into it, I kind of realized, it's really not that difficult to understand. But
yeah, that makes sense. Is everyone on set in the union?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's the union called that you're in?
479. But that encompasses a certain, I'm not sure all the departments. Like I was saying, and I know it's grip and electric for sure. There's a multitude more of departments that it covers. But there's also other unions, like camera is 600, and that one costs a lot more money to get into. It's like thousands of dollars. I think.
Why is that?
$7,000 to get into.
Jeez.
Just because of the, I guess of the I don't know. I think it's just because it covers more, and also, I mean, obviously they're going to get paid a lot more than somebody as a grip in the camera department.
Yeah.
Also,
does it cover like if they break equipment or something? That would suck. If you like dropped a giant camera.
Yeah, that's usually covered by production.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just a production cost, but I mean, depending on which production, you might get a shady, like, you know, like you're gonna have to pay. I don't know. I don't know how that works,
not
because
on The Walking Dead.
Not on Walking Dead, but on certain productions, you know, some productions kind of blur the line between non-union and union, and that's where it gets iffy. Where, you know, if you're on a non-union production, then obviously things are going to be a lot different. I mean, they're never going to be like, you know, give us $100,000, but you know,
that makes sense.
Things could be handled. Things are always handled differently on different productions if they have a non-union, because some productions are non-union.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And the union and non-union productions are way different in how they handle stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So.
Yeah, have you ever seen anyone like break anything super expensive and like people get pissed or anything?
No, I haven't seen any of that yet. I mean, there's always mistakes on set because, I mean, it's such an intricate process that there's always things that can go wrong. And, I mean, most of the time, it's nothing too serious. But really, what the motto that we live by on set is, you know, safety first. Like, if a light is falling, don't try to catch it, you know, and don't try to be the hero, because really, your life is way more important than
because a lot of times those lights are super heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's really just about safety, being safe, and knowing that, you know, it's just a movie, you know, like, I mean, we're all here to produce the best thing we can produce, but really at the end of the day, like, it's not worth risking your life over a movie.
Yeah.
And everybody has that general sense, you know, like, work as hard as you can, as smart as you can, and like as efficient as you can. But obviously, if something's dangerous, don't do it, or take the time to be safe. It's better. Like, set is so fast paced, but you have to be safe at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
So safety is definitely key. We're definitely passed down that information all the time, and that's what's really cool about Walking Dead too, is because, you know, they really take that as a priority. You know, some sets might be like, you know, fuck it, just do it really quick. Mm-hmm. You know, try to be safe, but do it quickly. You know, in Walking Dead, we're all, like, everybody on set is really efficient, really safe, and really quick. You know, like, it's like a really good combination, because it's not like people are endangering other people. We make sure
that's good
to keep everything safe. So
that's awesome, dude.
That's a huge important factor.
Yeah, definitely, because like you said, it's just a movie. It's just a show.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to kill anybody.
Right.
I was gonna ask too, like, obviously people that are listening that are big fans of The Walking Dead, they're obviously going to want me to ask you if you can say anything about the new season, but obviously I know you can't.
Yeah, I can't.
But is there anything that you can say that's like stuff to, you know, like, you know, general things like you can expect this, or like anything that people would want to hear?
I mean, I think the fans are going to love this season. I mean, it's going to be a great season. I mean, they can look up and see, like, you know, the executive producers, directors, and all of them have interviews where they talk about what's going to happen. You know, more of, I don't want to describe anything just in case it's like
exactly
against the rules.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
But all I can say is that, I mean, it's going to be a great season. People are going to really enjoy it. I think the following is really going to be pleased with what they're going to see.
Nice, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool, man. I mean, I think again, I'm not a spokesperson for The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I mean, when it returns, people are gonna really enjoy it.
That's awesome, dude. Well, cool, man. Is there anything else you want to like tell people? We've gone for like an hour 45. It's been pretty good. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything you want to promote or anything like that?
I guess not promotion, but like, I mean, so many people, you know, like myself. I was in a regular job, you know, doing the same old stuff, and I kind of got tired of that. So that's kind of what pushed my vision into the film industry. On top of having a love for it, I really wanted to, you know, sprout out and do something that I actually enjoyed. And luckily, my brother's in it, so he really helped me out with that. I mean, I'm really grateful to him, because without him, it would be super difficult because, connections are really important, and making that first jump into it is the most important thing.
Yeah.
But what I really tell people is just like what you're doing, dude. Like you love doing podcasts, and that's cool that you're doing what you love, Like for somebody to be able to do what they love no matter what, and no matter like how much somebody gets paid, like how much I get paid, how much this person gets paid, how much that person gets paid, doesn't matter, Like as long as you're doing what you love and you are satisfied with it, that's really what matters. Because at the end of the day, like you could be making so much money doing a certain thing, but if you're miserable every day going to work, like who wants to be that? So it's cool that I'm doing what I love to do. And some people that might not be for them, like some people don't want to be in the film industry and they want to do art or music or whatever, and that's totally fine. Like,
yeah, exactly,
whatever anybody wants to do, nothing is cooler than the other thing, because really it's all relative to that person's opinion. So
yeah, I
mean, for me, I love film, and for somebody else, they might love music way more than I love music. So it's like, whatever somebody loves doing, I would just suggest to pursue it, because like really like, I mean, I had things set up for me with my brother, but I also had to put in a lot of work. And like, if you really want something, like, I mean, like I was saying, with Atlanta being a huge entertainment industry, if you really want something, we're living in a place where you can get in from the ground up and really start a career if you really push.
Totally, especially a lot of people listening to this probably live in Atlanta.
Yeah.
If you want to get into the film industry, now's a great time for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, just anything you do in life, just like the whole, just persevere. And like sometimes it gets difficult. Like when I first joined the film industry, I was super stressed out, and I mean, I'm still learning stuff constantly on a daily basis because there's so much to learn. But when I first joined, like anything you do in life, that's a step out of your comfort zone, and that you finally hit that career point. Like anything you do, is that first step is like, whoa, like, like this is crazy, like how much work is going to be involved, how much stress. But really, if you just push through it and you don't think about it like that, eventually it becomes second nature. You start learning stuff, and you feel a lot more comfortable. And it's really just that first wall to get past. And then from there, it's usually, I mean, it's not smooth sailing, but it's like, you finally have something that you feel you connect to, and like, that you can be a part of, and also make enough money to live off of. So
that's a very important part.
Yeah, exactly.
Being able to actually do it for money.
Yes, and that's really the barrier, like it's hard to put it into words, but like just jump, like once you hit over it, you'll realize. But once you start making money, and you'll start making money, and you'll be like, wow, I'm actually making money for something that I like. And then it escalates from there to making more than a living or whatever,
Yeah.
And so then it's like, wow, I can actually make a career out of it. And then it just goes from there, really. But the original point, like I'm saying, it is difficult for sure. But it can be done, especially in Atlanta.
Totally. And you're proof of that. Mm-hmm. You're in it now. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So if people want to get started. And I have
a feeling your podcast is going to be like that, dude, honestly.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate that. Yeah. I really appreciate that, because, yeah, man, it's getting a lot of traction.
It is. I like, when those first couple of weeks when you first started, it was like crazy numbers. I'm sure it's just increasing and increasing. But those first couple of weeks, it was like how many people you had join and be a part of it at one time, like just in a mere matter of weeks,
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, man. Like, and I think it also was kind of due to the fact that people are curious and all that. But there's tons of people that launch podcasts every day that have 5 people to listen to it.
Right, exactly.
Because they're just not good at piquing interest or getting people curious about it. If you make it, there's a lot of different factors in it, but I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you see how much work goes into what you're doing.
Totally.
Like, it's not just the podcast. It's arranging, more people to come on the podcast. It's arranging, marketing. It's arranging, how am I going to get, word of mouth, like all that kind of stuff. There's so much that goes into even podcasts,
Yeah, because I mean, half the work is this is the easy part. Just doing the podcast, it's easy. We just have a conversation.
Right.
For some people, they suck at being a conversationalist, so that's the hard part for them.
Yeah.
But then I've got to, put it in, get it all edited, get it out, and then once I actually make something, then I've got to figure out my distribution. Like, how am I going to actually get it out there? How am I going to get people even to know this is a thing? That's just half the battle.
Right. And that's what's nice about social media too, is like, you can get your name out there. Like years ago, you couldn't do that so easily.
There's no way. You had to be on the radio.
Right. And now it's like you are your own radio.
Exactly. And there's no way in hell that this conversation that we just had would have any place in existence back then.
2 people maybe would view it.
2 people,
if it wasn't social. Yeah, exactly.
But it's even like the length of it. Like there was nowhere that 2 hours of radio time would ever be occupied just by 2 random dudes.
I mean, the amount of money they would lose on that would be insane.
Yeah, which is crazy. But now there's distribution for it, and people don't have to. Yeah.
That's really cool about podcasts, honestly, because like you don't really think of any other venues that are as big as iTunes when it comes to podcasts, especially.
And also another weird thing that you were kind of talking about earlier is that you don't think of how many people are on set for something like The Walking Dead, and it's crazy because you have so many people, and you have all these cooks in the kitchen, you have all these people giving input and putting their thing in, and that's really awesome. But at the same time, I'm on like the opposite side of the spectrum where it's literally like
you're all
just
the cooks in the kitchen.
I'm all the cooks in the kitchen, which is beautiful because at the end of the day, the project that I'm putting out is the exact project that I envision and that I want it to be. Because there's always going to be a director.
There's no hearsay. It's all your vision, all your decisions.
Exactly. And obviously, my guest, like that's the other person that's on the other side of it. But there's never going to be a point where I'm like, man, wish we would have gone with that. Because it's me that's making the decisions. Like, I'm going to be able to make the decisions that I want to make. And, eventually I'll probably have people that will work for me and stuff like that, just to make things a little bit easier.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's going to be people that I want. And at the end of the day, like I said, it's my show, so I'll have the final say, and it'll be my thing.
Yeah, and you get to edit it and everything, so like exactly what the final product is going to be.
Yeah.
And you can, have the whole creative process with how you want to do that. So it's really cool that like like you were saying earlier, like me, you, Tyler and Trey, we all have our own like we're all in different industries, but we're all in different entertainment industries.
Yeah. Dude, we could all combine and make some
I know, right?
Some crazy empire. Dude, we need to figure out how to collaborate though. That would be super awesome.
Yeah, it would, dude. I mean, yeah.
That'd be sweet.
It's really cool. That we're all doing what we love,
Exactly. That's awesome, dude. Well, dude, if people want to like find you on Instagram or whatever, what's your if you want people to find you on Instagram?
Yeah. My Instagram is gbyrned. It's GBYRNED, and I occasionally post stuff.
Yeah. And if you want to if people want to like hit you up too to like ask you questions about like film industry or whatever too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm open for questions. So
cool. Yeah, or if they're
slide in those DMs.
Yeah, slide in Graham's DMs and send him some questions or illicit pictures. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. That was off the record. That's off the record.
Yeah, we hit pause already, right?
Yeah. But dude, is there anything else you want to say? Anything else?
No, man, I just really appreciate you having me out, man.
Of course.
It's cool being on this and, seeing your vision like play out in person. I mean, it really is like, what you love and we're playing out in person, so it's cool to see that.
It's cool, man.
I appreciate, having me out, and it's cool to be a part of something like this. I've never been on a podcast before, so
most people, I really had only done like one podcast.
Yeah, because really, I mean, I don't really even know anybody that does podcasts, honestly. And if they do, it's like, 10 subscribers or whatever.
Yeah, or it's just for fun, or they don't take it seriously.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really cool to be on this.
Cool, man. Well, no problem. Well, Graham, it was really fun. We did an hour and 55 minutes, so I'm going to click the stop button.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
See you later, everybody. Thanks for listening.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I want to thank Graham for being on the podcast and sharing all that cool stuff with us. If you want to follow Graham, make sure you follow him on Instagram. His name is @GBYRNED, or you can find him on Facebook. But hopefully he didn't say anything about the show that will get him in any kind of trouble. but I think everything that he talked about was pretty tame. Nothing too crazy at all. But that's pretty much all I got. Episode 26 is coming up next with my favorite vegan photographer, entrepreneur, and marketer, Miles Barrio. And I met Miles a few years ago, and we were working in a company called Vima together. I've talked about it a lot on the podcast. But a little over a year ago, he bought his first camera, and he's gone from being a beginner photographer to doing photography full-time, shooting destination weddings, working with tons of top brands. Pretty crazy stuff. That podcast will be dropping in the next couple days, so stay tuned. But you guys know the drill. That's what I was trying to say. You guys know the drill. Do the whole iTunes rating thing. That's super important. I know you've heard me say it a bunch of times already, especially if you're a regular listener. But please, if you don't want to take the 2 minutes that it takes to rate the podcast, I would really appreciate it if you share the podcast with someone you know. And I know you know people who like podcasts. Word of mouth is the most powerful form of advertising. So if you genuinely like the show, please share it with a couple of friends. It would really, really go a long way. And if you want to follow me on my social media platforms, the best way to find me is to go to my website, andrewdeitsch.com. That is Andrew Deitsch, DEITSCH.com. And you can find all the links to my stuff there. But you guys are the best. Thank you guys so much. I am going to post this episode and go to sleep. But I hope you guys have an awesome day. And I'll talk to you soon.